Bangalore, amazing weather out here. You know, I think it's always amazing out here. So, today's topic is actually a very interesting topic. It's a topic about ratings in ONDC. I love speaking about ONDC. I believe this is the digital eighth wonder of the world. This is like seven wonders of the world are there, and the eighth wonder is actually digital, which is ONDC. Of course, I'm very optimistic about ONDC. I will, it is something, what keeps me excited is that it is an Indian innovation and it is not a Western innovation. This is an Indian innovation, and we are doing it at a population scale, and we are doing it together. I actually get opportunity to work with a lot of folks in the industry, and it's amazing how we used to think these are competitors and these are big guys, these are small guys. But today, the community is coming together, joining hands, and we are doing something which has never been done anywhere in the world. So this is very exciting. Now in that ratings, so basically, before I come to ratings, customer experience in ONDC has to be extremely good. I think that is one of the number one concern when I talk to a lot of folks in industry, whether big or small, large enterprises, mid-scale enterprises, SMEs. Can ONDC deliver the same customer experience which we see on Swiggy, Amazon, and other platforms like Uber? So basically, it is it is a key question, and therefore ONDC, in the journeys that I've seen, is working very hard to ensure that the tools, the frameworks they can come up with to ensure that the customer experience is at a top-notch level. Now, ratings is, we defined, ratings. It's sort of a trust triad. We call it a triangle of trust in ONDC. Ratings, payments, and the grievance management, which basically are three frameworks which ONDC has come up. One is RSP for payments, one is IGM for grievance, and one ratings for capturing the ratings of the sellers and other things. Right. This triangle of trust is very important, and ratings is a very important part of this triangle of trust. So today we are going to talk about ratings. Ratings, as you may know, is basically what you see, 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5 rating that you see on Google or Swiggy or Amazon, right? So that's the rating that we are talking about here, which customer gives to an item, to a seller, to a delivery, to how the dining experience is, how the packaging was, kind of stuff, right? So customer, rates across multiple dimensions, but fundamentally what we see is a rating which says that this is 4.5 out of 5 rated seller, this is 4.3 out of 5 rated item, and those kind of stuff, right? So today, basically, that's the part that we are going to talk about: ratings, how ratings are getting enabled in ONDC on the buyer app and the whole framework, right? Today, in this session, I want to invite Rishabh. He's an ONDC expert. Rishabh has worked on the spec, and he basically, I would lean on Rishabh for his guidance on on the whole rating thing. While I will do the primary presentation, I'll Rishabh, feel free to join, pitch in wherever you feel that I might be wrong. My understanding might be wrong, right? And if you have any anything to add, feel free to do that. So Rishabh, I want to welcome you. Hopefully, this is usually these webinars are very interactive and people ask a lot of questions. So we look forward to that. Anything you want to add, Rishabh, to what I said as an intro to the ratings?
No, I think very fairly put in terms of what it is in ONDC we are trying to do. And yeah, thank you for inviting me. And I think we can get started. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Great, great to have you, Rishabh. So what I will do, I'll quickly go through few slides, some intro slides about Plotch, and then basically just give me like 2 seconds here. So we basically are the, what we call as the ONDC Rails Infrastructure Company. That's what how we call ourselves. We have a suite of products which basically cover the whole 9 yards of ONDC, whether you talk about how the buyer app and seller app, how do you enable them, or RSP payments, we have a note pay product. Anything related to grievance, which is based on IGM, we have a, note desk product. So good part is that we basically cover the whole 9 yards of it. These are the networks which are, sort of live and WIP right now. We're talking about B2C, B2B in retail. We're talking about as we are speaking, version 1.2, work is going on for across all the buyer app and seller in the network to go live, right? So version 1.2, we talked about in the last webinar. It is a big jump with respect to customer experience, with respect to variance handling, the kind of, whether you want to add-ons to pizza and those kind of stuff. So a lot of things we talked about in the webinar in the last session on version 1.2. If you want to look at it, it's already there on YouTube. Uh, these are the products that we have, covers the payments, the grievance, the notes, the buyer app and seller app, and we also have a Kirana app, which basically allows a Kirana wala to become ONDC enabled very, very quickly. And something which we are going to launch very soon is on B2B and fintech. And another interesting thing that we are doing is with Google, we are enabling voice commerce, and that Notebox product is something we believe that voice is QR code of ONDC, that, voice is going to drive a lot of buyer and seller. Buyer should be able to buy using voice and seller should be able to, sell in ONDC. That's about us. I'll, coming to the topic, right? This is the triangle of trust I talked about, right? This is basically score is an important part of it. Of course, the payments that the seller should be able to receive payments seamlessly is a very important part of seller trust. And and grievance management, the customer should be able to, if they have some issue with the pizza or a sari or jewelry, they should be able to resolve it very quickly. But the topic today is about ratings. It's a very important part. Now, ratings, as you might have seen, across all the uh, websites that you see, right? Ratings, you will see that, this is like dining reviews. If you went into for dining, what kind of experience people had. If it's a, if some product were delivered to you, what was the delivery experience, kind of stuff, right? So this is what we're talking about. I just wanted to put visually there that this is what we're talking about. Customers can, because of ratings, customer can see how good the seller, the restaurant, the product is, which is a very, very important part when diverse entities are coming in the network from multiple categories and those kind of stuff, right? And of course, customers can do that. Buyer apps, because they want to ensure that, that customer experience on their platforms jumps up, they can also sort based on ratings. So ratings can be a criteria based on which they can say that these are the lowly rated sellers that I don't want to show, or push them down, and push up the highly rated sellers. And so it's an important lever for buyer apps to basically show sellers kind of stuff, right? Now, you know in ONDC today, and Rishabh, correct me if I'm wrong, today provider, seller, which basically means restaurant and grocery, kirana wala, all those things, they can be rated, and the courier logistics provider can be rated, right? So for example, I can rate that this Pizza Hut was good. I also can rate the courier was good. So Dunzo, if the Dunzo is the courier guy, that delivery experience was. These are the two ratings which are enabled today. That doesn't mean that these are the only ratings which are going to get enabled in future also. I think ONDC has plans to rate, get into item wise rating, and even like you know buyer app rating, seller app rating. I think those things will come in the future. But as of today, the restaurant, the seller, and the fulfillment are rated. Rishabh, I hope that is a correct understanding, right? That's
Right. So right now we are going ahead with seller ratings, which means providers essentially for at a provider level, which means fulfillment provider and retail provider basically.
retail provider. So
But
which means the
yes, but yes,
courier and the restaurant. Just to take an
correct,
example, right?
correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. So which is what is referred to in protocol terms in terms of a rateable object.
Hmm.
So we are going ahead with provider rateable object. In the retail context, it is a fulfillment and then a provider, which is the seller. We will
Yeah.
be bringing in network participants and the items eventually. For now, we're starting with providers.
Got it. Got it. Thanks for clarification. So that's why, and rating is on the scale of 1 to 5. So that's standardized that it will be from 1 to 5. So 4.5 or 5 or 6. Sorry, 3. Whatever is between 1 to 5. That's a rating that's standardized by ONDC, and only for successful delivered transactions. Not for like if the you ordered it and you canceled it, right? Kind of stuff. And this is because you're covering the whole transaction flow, right? Where something got ordered, something got delivered, and people cannot game it like by placing order and start canceling and those kinds of, and still can rate it, right? So it is only for successful delivered transactions only, and ratings can be captured within a certain time frame. I think it's 7 days from what I gathered from the docs. So Rishabh, my understanding is right? So within 7 days of delivery is the only window in which through in which you can actually, the rating can be captured by the from the buyer. After that, the ratings will not be valid.
7 days plus, I think, return window plus 7 days, which is essentially once it is return window expiry, then 7 days. Yeah.
Then 7 days. Okay, thanks for that. So it's basically delivery plus return period and then plus 7 days kind of stuff. And rating can be only be captured if the seller has agreed. So it's a consent based rating. If and the seller, and when I say seller, it means the seller, retail seller, and the logistic seller, which basically is the courier company. So if they agree that I want to be rated, only then the rating can be done. Otherwise, the buyer apps cannot capture the rating, right? So it is a consent based from the seller and the provider. So that's something I thought I'll, I'll clarify. And rating is an asset of seller. It is tied to seller. It is basically the seller. It is something you can say it's associated with seller, and seller can, if they move from one seller app to another seller app, the rating moves. It is not that they're destroyed, or it's related to only seller app, right? So if I'm with Magic Pen today, I want to go through, let's say, Pixela or some other, go Frugal, my rating remains, because this is as a seller, as a Pizza Hut, this is my asset and not this asset of Magic Pen or this kind of. So this is which is important, because in Amazon, and if you move from Amazon to Flipkart today, your ratings on Amazon don't get it to Flipkart, and which means that you have to start again, from the ground zero kind of stuff, right? So that's something, is a very important thing that I wanted to highlight. And the unique identifiers of sellers are PAN, GST, and shop license number, and Udyog Aadhaar. So basically, on which, if let's say I wanted to know rating of a seller, so I can say, for this GST number, what is the rating, or for this PAN number, what is the rating, or this shop license number, what is so these are the 4 unique identifiers ONDC has specified, so that you can, when you're requesting something, you're requesting these, based on these unique identifiers of sellers. Anything you want to add, Rishabh? Any questions anyone has before I get into the uh, more deeper part of ratings? Yeah.
Nothing in particular.
Any questions from anyone? Where everyone was able to follow till?
Kunal this side, Kunal Savan from Buildesk.
Hi, Kunal.
Hi. So just one basic question. The rating, essentially, the seller, if the seller says no to rating, which I feel, I mean, just trying to understand the perspective, because otherwise, in other aggregator platforms, rating is essential, very much essential in that aggregator platform. But in ONDC, I mean, the seller will decide whether he wants to be rated or not. So just trying to understand any specific logic or reasoning or rationale for this.
So I understand a question, right? So what I understand is that it is an asset. As I said, it is an asset of the seller. It is a consent based. It is something that, you know, what seller owns. This is something the seller's property. So whether they want to be rated or not rated is being left to them in a lot of ways. So if they don't want to be rated, see, if you're not rated, you don't have a rating. If you don't have a rating, then basically you have a risk of, not getting featured on the top, right? So people actually, a lot of sellers want to be rated. If I'm on Amazon, I want to be rated. I look for, as a seller, I would want to be rated, by as much as possible. That's why people do a lot of push based rating that, please rate me, please rate me, please rate me, right? So I understand a concern that as a seller, I might, I'm giving them a freedom not to be rated, but it is most likely practically that they want to be rated. That's basically is what I feel. Rishabh, anything you want to add? But that's what I feel, that essentially they would want to be rated, because that's a very important lever for filtering out and being featured.
Yeah, I think the seller, so what we're going ahead with as of right now is taking it as part of the rateable flag, which floats in the retail transaction where seller is able to mark themselves as rateable. And for now, we are going ahead with making sure it is always true, in terms of making sure that at least compliance wise, we're making sure that it is sort of always true as of right now, given that we're just starting things and we're trying to establish the ratings framework itself. And how that, so basically how that works is with the rateable flag, which is provided for that particular provider, saying that yes, I will be rateable, and we're going ahead to and keeping it for true always as to get things started. But yes, that is the consideration.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. So I have a few questions here, from Money. That Hello, this is Money. Would users not be able to rate a seller if an item is undelivered, that is ordered but undelivered within SLA? I think it's an interesting question, Rishabh. What Money is asking is that, you know I ordered, but it was not delivered, and I basically want to rate because I got a bad experience. So is that is not covered right now from what I know, right? Unless it's delivered, it cannot be rated.
Yeah, it is. I don't think it is covered yet. What we're trying to do is make sure that we are capturing at least ratings for fulfilled or completed ratings, and that covers things like returned as well. But the idea that we're at least starting with is to make sure that it is fulfilled, or at least it has reached the fulfillment state, which is basically saying that it is delivered. I think we're starting with that, but again,
Yeah.
we get your point, Mani, and I think that will come sooner than later.
So Money, valid question. I think it is definitely, because rating is getting live right now in the network. So like one MVP, version is going live. But there are a lot of, I think, enhancements which will be possible as we go live. We'll learn a lot of things and we will be able to incorporate that, I think, in future. So I think that's what Rishabh is alluding to. So and then I have question from Sanjeev. If a seller registers on multiple sellers apps, how will rating work? So, Sanjeev, it does. If I understand it right, it doesn't matter if you are on multiple seller apps because it's tied to you as a unique identifier like a PAN number, GST number. Primarily, you will be rated based on that. So you will be fetched. Your score will be fetched based on your GST number or PAN number or those kinds of, right. So yeah, so that basically is uh, is something that so that's how it will work, kind of stuff.
To
Uh,
elaborate this a bit,
yeah,
Manoj, what we'll try to do is we'll try to uniquely identify a seller, which is a seller on record or a provider, using some sort of an ID, which will either be a PAN or a GSTN. So as long as the seller is able to maintain that ID across multiple seller apps, when the ratings is getting captured as part of the score ledger that we will be maintaining, the consortium will be maintaining. As long as that ID is being captured across all of these seller apps, the seller will be uniquely identified and contain basically get complete one score across the
got it,
seller apps.
got it. Yes, 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 yes. Uh, then Arpit is asking, would the ratings be just by buyer to seller or both ways? Also, how would ratings be bifurcated for buy versus sell scenarios? So Arpit, today basically is only for the seller by the buyer. That's the flow which is going live right now. So I think in future, from what I can envisage, and Rishabh, I may be wrong, but in future I think buyers can also be rated by sellers, and say, for example, which happens in a mobility network where the taxi or auto wala is also rating the passenger, whether the passenger was good or not. So I think those scenarios will come in future. Today, only buyer is rating the seller right now. Another question: hope all buyer apps will have option to sort sellers irrespective of seller apps as per rating or filter. Yeah, so Roy, basically the ratings, as I'll present how the ratings will work, right? So rate is the scores of the which basically is a consolidated, a single point numeric value will be available to all the buyer apps. So they can sort it based on that. So there's nothing that it will be only available to one buyer app or not available to another buyer app, right? So it is the score is going into a central ledger, which I'll just quickly present after we're done here. But give us like 3 or 4 minutes, and I think we'll be able to clarify that. Arpit has again, can other platform consume the ratings to include in the product to make comprehensive user profile? So I don't know, Arpit, you are referring to buyer apps or you're referring to platforms outside of the ONDC network, right? So if they are outside of the ONDC network, and I think I might have heard, in the meetings, that I think those are the future plans, that somehow, the ratings which are captured ONDC network can also be available to outside world, so that they can also use that as a benchmark of for a lot of other things. For example, one use case I can think of is the ratings in retail network can be used by lenders to basically underwrite more a better lending product, kind of stuff. So to give like lower lending rate and those kind of stuff. Is rating being maintained by ONDC or is it being maintained by? Well, Sanjeev, I'll answer that question like in just another 5 minutes. Where the who owns the rating or where is it stored and those kind of stuff. How fake ratings are going to handle by seller or by the network. So I think uh, see, the fake ratings is my personal view, but fake ratings is a demon in like across all the internet world, and of course a lot of platforms do a lot of things to ensure that fake ratings avoided. Today basically I think we are going with a very MVP version right now, and I think more will evolve as as we go rating. So today I frankly I don't know if you have answer, but I don't know if how we can come up with where the seller is also ordering and then getting it delivered, and then creating ratings where the seller is a customer and those kinds of, right? So I think that's something we'll have to see how that get resolved. But it's a fair question, Praveen. Fair question.
Yeah, Manoj, so my to add on this,
Yeah,
like my question was specific to Rishabhan, like when we are designing a completely new rating system,
yeah.
this is the like a very root and core problem where like some sort of brainstorming can be done by ONDC
Hmm.
team to come up with some specific solution, a particular solution. Like we have now the intelligence and a lot of framework to avoid these things. So that could be like
Anything you have, Praveen, for, I mean, anything, I don't know if you're working on this, and anything you want to suggest?
definitely, I will come back to you and
Sure,
we'll
sure.
discuss offline and
Sure,
separate.
sure, sure, sure. I think you can reach out to me or Rishabh directly, or both of us. Not a
Sure,
challenge.
sure, sure.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure, Praveen. Kunal. So, I'll pause here and I'll go through a few of my slides, because I'm realizing a lot of the questions are will be answered. So give me like 5-10 minutes more, and then we'll come back to questions again. Um, Let me just go to the next slide. So we One second, maybe. So basically ratings. So now we're getting into the framework, right? Ratings, scores, and badges, right? Now ratings is an individual entity, which basically a customer is giving to a seller for a particular event, right? A transaction, particular transactions, or those kinds of stuff, right? Now, collection of these ratings, let's say 30 orders, 40 orders, 50 orders, and those kind of stuff. Like collections of these ratings, is actually is getting pushed into what ONDC is saying as a network service provider, and basically scores are getting created by them. These scores are primarily which basically is 4.5 out of 5, and so this is an aggregate score, aggregate number, one number, which basically is calculated and stored and stuff, right? And in future, from rating scores, badges can also be created, which can actually take inputs from the external world, like whether, what are the GST, filing, frequency of the seller, as the seller defaulted on any return filing, and based on that, any CIBIL score kind of stuff, IT returns and those kinds. So external world data can also be, brought in with the ONDC, scores, to create badges like these are diamond seller, these are gold seller, and those silver seller, and those things. So of course, these badges, I think, is being talked about by ONDC. I think there's lot more framework around it, and more data around it still is gonna come in the future. But this is what is in the framework, that ratings create scores, and scores can create badges in future, right? And this is basically is a very detailed in some ways diagram on how the ratings flow, right? So in this example, let's say I, Manoj Gupta, had ordered like a pizza from Pizza Hut, right? And I want to rate, right? So I basically through Paytm, and I've used Paytm as a buyer app to basically buy a pizza from Pizza Hut, and Magic Pin is the seller app through which the Pizza Hut has entered into the network, right? So I go to Paytm, I bought, and if I like my pizza, I can basically rate it, and that rating basically from Paytm goes to Magic Pin, right? And basically after that, through the Magic Pin, now Magic Pin here is a seller app, right? And let's say for the same Pizza Hut, during the day, 10, 20, 30 ratings have come from different, buyers. So, so what today, what ODC is saying, that end of the day, Magic Pin will take all the ratings of the Pizza Hut, and then basically push it through a network service provider, and then these network service providers can push it through ledger service provider into a central ledger. Now today the central ledger is a blockchain that is being worked out, that this central ledger is a blockchain. But these are the entities, right? Buyer apps collect rating from me. Buyer apps give ratings to seller app, who basically collect the ratings for the whole day, then take that rating and through a network service provider, push it into a ledger, right? Uh, and these ledgers are maintained by ledger service providers, right? So there are entities here. Actually, if you are looking at opportunities here in with respect to ratings, there's opportunity, of course, for you to become a network service provider, where you are sort of collecting all the ratings, creating a score, and someone is using your API to basically get the score of a particular seller, right? So you can monetize that, you can maybe per rating or those kind of stuff, right? So you basically later on can also collect data from GST and IT and all those things, and start creating badges and civil data, and start creating badges, right? And your badges may be so valuable that you can start charging for those badges. Someone in diamond, silver, and those kind and customer starts trusting that this diamond seller, the badge is given by XYZ kind of stuff, right? So there's a value in being a network service provider. There's a value in being a ledger service provider. Now, ledger service providers are primarily managing the storage part, and the storage is a blockchain. So most of these ledger service providers today, like Dhive is there, who are blockchain experts, and then they are basically managing nodes of blockchain and those kind of stuff, and ensuring that there's a consistent one number which basically is coming for all the buyer apps. uh, and network service providers can be many. You can be a network service provider. If you want to, I think you can reach out to Rishabh for that if you're interested. Because you can also be a ledger service provider if you have experience in blockchain and those kind of stuff. And so there are opportunities there if you are looking for, if you are in ratings, or if you want to be in ratings in ONDC, right? uh, and once the rating is goes from buyer to buyer app, through seller app, into networks, from network service providers to ledger service provider, into a ledger, the any buyer app can basically use an API called fetch score, right? And through a network service provider, get a rating of the buyer, right, of a seller. So this is how the whole ratings architecture in ONDC is. And it's important for you to understand it, because there might be opportunities for you to play, since this is still new, and you can be leader in that. uh, right. One sec. Yeah. Now we talked about the rateable flow, right? The whole rateable flow, that how do I, the consent of how do we get the consent of the seller, that they want to be rated or not, right? Now the way it works is that, now this is very ONDC specific, confirm and unconfirm call. But primarily what is happening is that once an order is placed, right, the confirm call goes from basically is order confirmation API, which goes from Paytm to Magic Pin. And they might be in the logistics network, this is getting fulfilled by Dunzo, right? So that same confirm call will, similar confirm call will go from Magic Pin to Dunzo, and Dunzo will confirm that I, of course, I've received an order, I'm confirming it through on confirm. And then Magic Pin will confirm, will say on confirm to Paytm, right? this is how the cascaded flow works in ONDC, just to use that lingo. But primarily the whether I want to be rated or not rated comes in the on confirm flow, right? So Dunzo will say in on confirm in the step number 3 that I want to be rated for this transaction. And Pizza Hut will then, tell Paytm that whether they want to be rated, kind of stuff, right? So this whole cascading thing is happening, where now then Paytm knows that Dunzo has said yes, they want to be rated and for this transaction, and Magic Pin has said that they want to be rated, which basically, see, when I say Magic Pin, it's primarily Pizza Hut here. But Magic Pin as seller app primarily because they're the network network participant here, but primarily it is Pizza Hut telling that I want to be rated. So both seller and courier can be rated, and therefore in the next flow when let's say now then now the buyer app has received confirmation consent from the Pizza Hut and Dunzo that I can be rated, then basically Paytm will show to the buyer like me, Manoj Gupta, that please give rating for Dunzo courier, or give maybe not, they will not probably name it, but probably say, please rate the delivery experience and please rate the the product experience, kind of stuff, right? So I, as Manoj Gupta, will say, okay, I like the product, so I'll say 4.5 out of 5. And I did not like the delivery, so I'll say 3 out of 5, kind of stuff, right? So whatever I do, that whatever ratings I gave, then the ratings will flow, right? So this is the ratings capture flow that I'm talking about, where buyer gives a rating. The ratings, basically whatever buyer app has collected, will be given to Magic Pin. Magic Pin will take and do a cascade call because they are receiving the rating from buyer app, and they will tell logistics app that this is the rating for you also. And then Dunzo might give on rating. It's basically on rating is a confirmation that I've received. On rating is a reverse flow that I've received. And also there's a mechanism where they can give a URL that if they want to capture anything more, for example, if the delivery experience was not good, right? Dunzo would want to know whether the rider, the delivery person, was rude, or whether it was delayed or it never arrived, kind of stuff, right? So there's a feedback URL which Dunzo can give through Magic Pin to Paytm, and Paytm can show that feedback URL that that Dunzo needs more information about this, your experience, kind of stuff, right? So this is how the ratings capture flow works, right? With the first part, we show we basically what we saw was a consent flow, that how the consent of rating works. In this, basically, we are seeing how the capturing of the ratings work, right? So this is the flow here, right? Now, for once you have captured, when you have taken, ratings from Manoj Gupta, it has to be stored, right? And this is how the storage flow works, right? So, we talked about the ratings and non-ratings. So that is for the capture. But primarily Pizza Hut through Magic Pen and Dunzo, will push through network service provider the ratings, which will be then stored in a central ledger. And then anyone, let's say Misho comes and say, oh, I want to know Pizza Hut rating, they can call the network service provider that for this particular, provider, Pizza Hut, what is the rating? And the network service provider can give them the rating, right? So basically all the entities for the ratings, call the network service provider. And behind the network service provider, ledger service provider can also be same. There's nothing which tells that ledger service provider and network service provider cannot be same. But let's say if they're different, there's a ledger service provider who will then providing services to network service provider. This is how the routing storage flow works. Now I've spoken a lot, so I'll take few questions. Any questions from anyone? If you want to say anything about any questions you have, I can also read out here. So I'll take few questions then, which is there. Uh, so it's Kunal's question. If a seller is present across different states and having multiple GSTN, then technically it is multiple seller for the same legal name and also multiple ratings for the same PAN for multiple GSTN. So Kunal, your question is basically because I have state-wise GST and my ratings can be for multiple GSTN. Now for rating, you can actually give a single GSTN or you can just give a PAN number which actually remains the same across states, right? So it is not that you basically if you don't want to use GSTN, you can use PAN number. In fact, not only PAN and GSTN, ONDC has given Aadhaar number and shop license number are also unique identifiers on which those kind of stuff. So I think that's a solvable problem. Although understand where you're coming from. One is asking if a competitor customer gave wrong reviews to an order, any option to revoke it? Yes, yes. So basically, I think there's a correction flow which ONDC has. Rishabh, there is like from what I saw in the spec, there's a correct, score flow. So you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is if certain, let's say, incorrect of sorts ratings have been pushed to the ledger and have been taken as part of the calculations consideration, we have something called a correction flow or an update flow, which basically would help us roll back some of those ratings and correct it if required. Now, this has a lot of prerequisites in terms of making sure that we are able to identify whether that rating was false in itself, in terms of whether properly identifying it, which will have a lot of nuances in itself. But in case there have been problems or uh, errors in pushing certain ratings to the ledger, that can be updated using the correcting flow in the ledger. But yes, that is a function there. But how do we implement that is a slightly more nuanced flow.
Yeah, yeah, because I understand where you're coming from, right? Because it might be that people are correcting a lot of times, and actually, how do you know this actually the corrections are the right corrections also and not done with any malintent also. So yeah, so I think those clarifications in future will come, but it's a valid question, Bunny, and definitely there's a correction flow which Rishabh has answered. A few questions here from Nilesh. Would the buyer apps be mandated to collect the ratings? Are there any incentives for buyer apps here or just policy thing for them? Rishabh, is are buyer apps mandated if I think today it is mandated, right? From what I know, or is it
Yeah, so
mandatory?
basically it is mandatory for a buyer app to collect ratings over the network, given that the rateable flag is true.
Yeah,
So yes, it has to be captured, whether you capture it as 5 stars, whether you capture it as 5 smileys, or the UX is up to the respective buyer app.
yeah,
But yes, the buyer app has to capture it. Yes.
got it. Okay. Will there be some guidelines on how they need to design the UI? So I think that Rishabh had already answered. What if the seller is not satisfied with the buyer app's effort in app or through mail SMS in collecting the rating? What if the seller is not satisfied? Oh, basically, what what I think Nilesh is asking is, what if the seller is saying that this guy is not doing the right job and he's just messing with my rating? Um, I think there might be some maybe maybe in future you will come up with some policy guidelines around it if that is something you see right as a challenge. Rishabh, think
Um, yes, that will be handled, I think, post facto.
yeah,
Basically, what happens is in such scenarios, we will need first the reporting of it in terms of the seller identifying if there is um, any such behavior taking place, and second, then correspondingly doing sort of an audit I don't want to call it an audit, but some sort of an audit where we are trying to identify or maybe understand the situation and then take corrective actions if at all required. Again, yeah, it is
Got it.
subjective.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you. Sanjeev is asking which blockchain is being used for storing the ratings. It is card blockchain from what I know. It is by Dive, and today I think that is being used. But what I also know that ONDC is looking at other solutions and other blockchain types in future also. So it is so that it doesn't get tied to one blockchain. But I think today this is what it is, and we are rolling out with an MVP version on that. So Sanjeev, that's the question. Answer to your question. Rajat is asking who all are other API providers beside Plotch for NDC. So I think Rishabh, I think this data like who are the other network service providers for scores. I think you'll publish it. I think it's not officially announced, right? Were the ones.
We will be publishing it soon. It is not. We're still figuring out the POC and the literal mechanics and the flows.
Sure,
But yes, that will come out when it does.
got it. So those are the questions from the audience. Anyone has any other question? So primarily, basically, ratings is going to transform customer experience. I mean, this is a big step that is happening in ONDC. In this webinar, recently we saw how the ratings are getting captured, how the ratings will flow in the network, how the ratings are getting stored in the network, right? How in future rating scores, badges will also come, and I think the timeline to get ratings up in the network is pretty much as of today, right, it is going live, and I'm assuming that it is getting done by a lot of buyer apps. We are definitely as Plotch, we believe this is a big step forward, and we are going to roll out ratings feature in our buyer app solutions very very soon, but very very excited about this with ratings launch. Rishabh, anything you want to add, because I'm pretty much done here with respect to the coverage.
Yeah, nothing in particular. It's just that the APIs itself for capturing rating and non-rating is coming in as part of the latest version 1.2, like we have discussed last time as well.
Okay.
It is under the network services category, which covers IGM, RSF, and ratings. At least the capturing of the ratings, then which is basically then passed on or captured as part of the ledger. A small thing we would also like to mention is as part of the on rating flow, we've discussed this with seller apps that they would want additional questions along the lines of what sort of questions were asked or they want to ask from the buyer based on the rating that they have provided. So something like a feedback flow is something that is facilitated using the on rating API, where seller apps would be able to, seller apps and logistics providers would be able to pass on if any there are specific questions that they want to have. See, if you have rated 5 for your logistics experience, what did you like about it? Or if you did not like a product, what did you not like about the product? Such things are also facilitated using the on rating API, which is the response to getting rated for a particular transaction, and that's that. So it is coming as part of 1.2, the release itself.
1.2, great. So version 1.2, will have ratings API in a very detailed way. So I think what Rishabh is saying, that is gonna be released very soon. So we look forward to that. And with that, Rishabh, I want to thank you. You have been a great help in clarifying a lot of questions that people had, and we have shared your email. Without taking a consent. I hope that was okay. So people can reach
No,
out
no,
to
that
you.
is okay.
Yeah.
Monica reached out to me. Yeah, that's
Okay.
not a problem.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So with that, we will wrap up here, and thank you everyone for attending this. We'll come back next week with another great topic on ONDC. Till then, have a great weekend and goodbye. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys.